Hello. This is 477 Lighting and Rendering, week 1. We are going to discuss the project at hand and talk about what we'll need to get started. So let's have a look at the assignment. This is the room scene. It's worth 30% of your final grade, and as you can see here, we're designing an ideal living space. It can be in the past, present, or future that is lit, has textures, and uses Arnold shaders. So for this week, you're going to want to start collecting assets and putting them into your room. Again, think creatively, think out of the box, have an imagination, think about the ideal room. If you could ever have your own living space, whether it is maybe a fancy hotel lobby or a bedroom that you ever thought that was fine, in the sky or something. It has to have walls, at least 3 walls, and it has to be essentially indoor or self-contained with ideally no external lighting. Okay. Now, the rubric in terms of what we want to see, as you can see here, as highlighted, is creativity. Again, if it's narrative based, if it tells a story, maybe there's some loose items here and there, maybe something that had happened in that room. You can get an idea of the sense of who's in that room. Maybe there's pictures on the walls of the person, etc., etc. Again, can be interesting, can be helpful in making the renders interesting. In terms of technical, we want it visible. We want to be able to see everything. Dynamic use of color and light. Uses of principles of design in terms of the way you compose each shot. In terms of rendered images, correct file types, and correct image sizes, file names. The presentation should be very clear and concise, understandable, and in the allowed time. Again, we don't want more than 5 minutes for the presentation, and for at least this assignment, we're going to do it entirely online. We'll create a 5-minute video presentation. It's kind of like the way I'm doing my videos, or using screen capture. If you're using a Mac, if you're using a PC, I'm using Bandicam. So you can record your screen, do a few takes before you get familiar with the software. That can be done that way. Otherwise, you use PowerPoint and just have your images. So the presentation, it's a 12-slide presentation describing your process. The first slide, the last slide, and then 10 slides in between. Different images, textures, test renders, anything you want to put in the 10 is okay, but we want to have entirely 12 slides that is spoken over. Okay, if you decide to do it that way. Otherwise, again, like I said, do a video capture and then post it online on YouTube or something, and we can watch it through the link. Okay, so 5 single frame rendered images we want to see, so different places in your room. We want at least a 10-second camera fly through. Don't go too fast, but 10 seconds is what we want to fly through the room. At least 10 seconds. Anything more, of course, it's going to take a little more time to render, so keep that in mind when you are rendering and putting your camera through. And like I said, for the submission, we need either a PowerPoint presentation with voice recording or a video capture with voiceover. 5 minutes maximum. And this is the name. So again, I thought it would be really cool to live in a robot hotel or something like that. So whatever you want to name your room, name it. And this is the naming convention. This needs to go onto Blackboard. So the project is due September 20th. Okay, and to put this room together, I would go and look at the models that you already have. Look at some of the projects you've already done. Use those models that you have. If you're not satisfied with those models, I would not model my own stuff because this is a lighting and rendering course. September 20th is when it's due, so you have essentially 4.5 weeks. It's not a lot of time to model everything. Okay. Again, this is lighting and rendering, so we are going to spend time lighting it. We're going to spend some time adding the shaders. So by next week, you should have 90% of your assets in the room to make the room, so that we can start to texture and then light. We're looking now at the internet. So I just typed in Google. Free 3D models. Use the free 3D models. TurboSquid is excellent. If you don't know TurboSquid, this has been around for a very long time. You'll need to sign in to most of these websites I'm about to show you, but search. Look for free models and download them. You have them as 3ds Max models, free 3D models, OBJ, FBX. These are the file formats that will work. Here's another one called Free 3D. This has emerged recently. This one's free. It's personal use. You can just download it. I signed in. Oh no, I didn't sign in. But there's the OBJ, and it'll take me to a sign-in page. Oh no, starting download already. So 74 megs, it's a zip file, the OBJ file, extract it, okay, and then open it through 3ds. And then here's another one. Cars seem to be readily available as free models online. And so here's one I just signed in, and I can download. As you see on the right hand side, there's OBJ, FBX. I would start off with FBX because FBX seems to hold the shader that's associated to the model. So use that first as an option. If that doesn't work, then go with the OBJ. OBJ doesn't tend to have the shaders attached to it, and you can see too the file size is a lot bigger, whereas FBX is a lot more efficient in terms of saving hard drive space. Those are 3 websites. So CG Trader is the third one, along with Free3D and TurboSquid. If you have other ones, if you want to share, that'd be great. Otherwise, use the libraries that you have access to as your toolkit. So again, assignment 1 this week. What we need to do, we are building the assets for our first assignment. Spend the time 3-5 hours or so this week getting assets in, and that way by next week we can start to look at Arnold. Okay, so again, Arnold's, just to briefly mention, is a shader system. Is pretty new, came out a few years ago, and it's very fast, and the results look very good. When I say fast, we're thinking about roughly 5 minutes per frame. That seems to be the ideal length of time that people are willing to wait for a 1-frame render, and that's what we're aiming for, 5-minute renders. If we can do it faster, excellent, but nonetheless, that's what we're planning for. So that's the task at hand. Also for this week, attendance, we have the questionnaire. So again, to remind you, please complete the questionnaire. I'd love to know more about you, and we'll see you in the next video. Nice and short, hopefully.